Well, what do you know? Good morning, everybody. On a Thursday, October 17, it is finally over. The government reopens today, and the Treasury Department will start paying our bills, or at least be able to pay our bills today, because the debt ceiling has been raised. The government's reopened. The Senate and the House both voting for the Senate for the compromise yesterday, and President Obama signing it into law early this morning at 12:30 a.m. Washington time. So Congress has gone home for the weekend. We can all breathe a sigh of relief, but not for very long. That's the bad part of this deal, because we'll be back to debating whether or not to reopen the government or keep it open in January 15, and we'll be debating all over again whether or not we're going to raise the debt ceiling come February the 7th. In the end, what did the Republican Party achieve by this long shutdown of the government? Absolutely nothing. There are no major changes at all to Obamacare, which was, remember, the point of the shutdown, to defund, to derail, or to kill Obamacare. Total failure on that. All the Republican Party achieved was to drive its approval ratings down to the lowest level ever. 70% of Americans think Republican Party put their own political agenda ahead of what's good for the country. The only big winner in all of this is Ted Cruz, the big loser, John Boehner. Tell us what you think about this deal at 866-55-PRESS. That's our toll-free number. Give us your comments on Twitter at BP Show, and on Facebook at facebook.com/Bill Press Show. Thursday morning, October 17.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Don't look at me. Your hair's a bit frizzy today. Aww, you should pick that up. Oh, you're such a dork. Loser. Here, let me help you with that. Oops.
Every day, kids witness bullying.
Oh, look. Your crush is looking at you. Poor you.
They want to help, but don't know how.
See, no one here's gonna help you, because no one
Teach your
likes
kids how to be more than a bystander. Visit stopbullying.gov.
If you drive buzzed, it could cost you around $10,000. You'll face major legal fees, major fines, and steep insurance penalties. You could lose everything. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving, because buzz driving is drunk driving.
When some people struggle with their mortgage payments, they become frozen, petrified. Not knowing what to do, they do nothing. But the people who take action are far more likely to get the most positive outcome. Making home affordable is a free government program. Call now to talk one-on-one with a housing expert about the options that are right for you. Real help, real answers, right now.
Here at the GED Pep Talk Center, we have pep talkers standing by to get you motivated for your GED diploma. Text the name Terry to 69222 for a sympathetic pep talk.
You show people what you really are.
Or for a gentle pep talk, text the name Deborah.
You know you're going to make people very proud of you.
And if that's not enough, text the name Danny for an extreme pep talk.
Prove everyone wrong. Show them you're the boss.
Get your GED pep talk and find free GED classes. Text the name of the person you want a pep talk from to 69222.
Did you see the world differently? Did you celebrate the victory?
So today, I state clearly and with conviction America's commitment to seek the peace and security of a world without nuclear weapons.
Did you stand up against our greatest threat? Change the world.
On your radio, on your TV, and online. This is the Bill Press Show.
It's over. Get back to work. Federal employees reopen the government today. And how soon will we be back into the same soup? Hey, good morning, everybody. What do you say? For the time being, though, at least we have a day off. A day with no threat of defaulting on our debts. Another day where federal workers don't have to stay home. And so for a temporary relief, maybe we can be grateful. Is it any good? What about this deal? We'll look at it from every angle and find out what you think about it all this morning here on the Bill Press Show. Welcome to the program this Thursday morning, October 17. So good to see you today. And, you know, maybe you're a little tired by staying up late last night watching the vote in the House, the vote in the Senate first, and then the vote in the House, and then the President signing the bill at 12:30 this morning, Washington time. We'll have some friends in to talk about it this morning, and most importantly, want to know what you think about it. Is this really any good for the long term or just a temporary Band-Aid? 866-55-PRESS is our toll-free number. And you can join us on Twitter at BP Show. We look forward to getting your comments on Twitter, as always, and on Facebook at facebook.com/Bill Press Show. It went on for 2.5 weeks, the shutdown. All the questions we'll be asking today is, so what was gained by it? Who were the big winners? Who were the big losers? We've been here from start to finish. Team Press, Peter Ogburn and Dan Henning.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Leading it up. Good morning, good morning. Alicia Cruz. She's there to get your calls and your comments. And Cyprian Bolding is here to keep us looking good on the video stream, because remember, we are your local progressive radio show on your local progressive radio station. But we're also seen on Free Speech TV. You can find us on your satellite dish, DirecTV, or the Dish Network. And you can watch the video stream online at TawkrTV, TawkrTV. You find it at youtube.com/TawkrTV. I was at a big event at the Hill Center last night here, interviewing Mark Leibovich, the author of a very popular new book he wrote about Washington, This Town. And a couple of people came up and said how much they enjoyed watching on TawkrTV.
All right.
Yeah, there you go. Hello. Good morning.
Thanks for watching.
Everything good?
Yeah, man.
And baseball rolls on. I told you, don't count my Dodgers out. They proved it yesterday. The Dodgers coming back and evening the series. No, I'm sorry. Just staying alive. With the Cards. Cards needed one more win. They didn't get it. I don't think they're going to get it. Go Dodgers. Here's the fourth home run for the Dodgers last night. Vin Scully making the call.
Swung on and a drive down the right field line, hooking in the corner. All watching. It is gone. Adrian Gonzalez hits the fourth home run for the Dodgers, who now lead 6-2.
Not exactly the most excited Vin Scully that we've ever heard.
He's an old man.
I mean, it's gone. Yeah, fourth home run of the day for the Dodgers. God, come on, Vin. Yeah, all right.
Kills me.
Anyhow, 6-4 for the Dodgers. That series is now 3-2. Cardinals leading by 1. And the Tigers, man, came alive, kept it alive with the Red Sox tying it up. Dan Dickerson gives the call.
3-2 pitch, swinging a high fly ball right field. This'll do it. Hunter coming over, and he makes the catch, and this series is all even at 2 games apiece.
And you know what's amazing about that is that was a blowout, and there haven't been many blowouts in the series, but that's 7-3 last night. So there you go.
Yeah.
It's hard to know how this thing is going to end up, huh?
Well, it's a bunch of unpredictable teams. That's the thing. I mean, a lot of the teams that were consistent over the season, are now gone, and so now you've got these teams that are really battling it out. I mean, they're leaving it all out there.
Yeah.
So it's fun to watch.
David Jackson from USA Today had a late night with the president last night, but he's up early this morning. Will join us a little bit later in this hour. In the next hour, Bob Cusack from The Hill will be here as a friend of Bill the entire hour. And I'm sure he had a late night, too. We'll be joined by Congresswoman Deborah Wasserman Schultz, who is also, of course, the chair of the Democratic National Committee, and she's got a new book out called For the Next Generation. And let's take a look at what the Senate and the House finally agreed on yesterday. But first,
this is the Full Court Press.
On this Thursday, some other headlines making news. No special treatment for a former Secretary of State from London's parking enforcement officers. Hillary Clinton received a $64 parking ticket for parking without feeding the meter while receiving an award in England last week. ABC reports that despite her bodyguards raising their voices, the parking officer says no one gets special treatment and put the ticket on the car.
You know, I hope Elton John paid for the ticket. He's the one that gave her the award. She was there just for him, so after all.
New Jersey Governor Chris Christie dodged a question on the Washington football team's name controversy. The Hill caught up with the governor, who's a big football fan, and asked his take. He quickly replied, "I don't go for that stuff. I'm a Cowboys fan." They did not get a question in on why a team that plays in his home state is 0-6.
Yeah, right.
Yeesh.
Chris Christie, come on, Chris. Usually he doesn't duck questions like that.
No, usually you take him head on, but that one he flew right around it. And while the new iPhone 5S has proven to be quite popular, Apple is quietly acknowledging that the cheaper 5C is not. USA Today reports the company is quietly trimming production orders for the $100 iPhone. Analysts say that while the phone is half the price of the cheapest regular version of the smartphone, it is not cheap enough for many consumers and therefore not selling.
Yeah, it's sort of in between, right? It's not cheap enough for the masses, if you will.
Right.
And it's not good enough for people who
are looking for a deal.
To pay for a good phone.
What a colossal failure by Apple. People are now spending much more money on the more expensive product. Boy, they really blew this one, didn't they?
Whoa. By the way, apropos absolutely nothing.
Go ahead.
Didn't somebody mention yesterday about the fox at the White House on the White House lawn?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I was talking to some reporters about it yesterday. I don't know why it made me think of that, but this fox has been spotted.
Oh yeah,
on the White
so
House
I was
lawn.
right. Okay, yeah, I read it.
Oh man.
And you know, it's like when there's one fox, there'll be more foxes around. Watch.
Sure. Now, does the Secret
Service? I saw
Service
that happen on Haynes Point golf course.
Uh-huh.
There used to be a lot of foxes.
Little fox
around
family.
There. Yeah.
They have. If you walk by the White House, you can see the snipers up on top of the White House.
They could take care of that fox.
I was going to say, it's a very, very easy solution there for that one.
All right. You see the headlines this morning. Washington Post. Shutdown ends. The headline in the New York Times is Republicans back down, ending the budget crisis. That's exactly what happened. Republicans blinked, and blinked. And it happened last night. First of all, the Senate voting on the compromise. The Senate vote was 81 to 18. 18 Republicans voted against the compromise. All 52 Democrats and 52 Democrats, 27 Republicans, and 2 independents voted for it. The independents, Angus King, of course, and Bernie Sanders. Then it went over to the House. The House voted 285 yes, 144 no. All no votes were from Republicans. 144 Republicans voted no. 87 Republicans only voted yes. Peter, I was mistaken earlier. I said a couple of Democrats voted no. All Democrats voted yes. 198 voted. 198 voted yes. As the vote came down, former Speaker Pelosi, Leader Pelosi, thanked John Boehner for doing something he could have done and should have done 3 weeks ago.
Thank you, Speaker Boehner, for finally allowing a majority of House members to reopen government and avoid a default that would have clearly wreaked havoc on our economic credibility and the stability of our country.
Yeah, just remember that. The vote that took place last night could have taken place 3 weeks ago, and you know what? It would have been the exact same vote. So we went 3 weeks for absolutely no gain, no change, nothing but a lot of loss. Estimated $31 billion in productivity, economic downfall, blow to the economy as a result of the shutdown. There are... And then the president, even before the Senate voted, after the House voted, after the Senate voted, the president came out to the microphones, encouraging the House to do the same and thanking the leaders of both parties for finally resolving this mess.
I want to thank the leadership for coming together and getting this done. Hopefully next time, it won't be in the 11th hour.
It won't take so long, won't be to the 11th hour. And the president said, we're not going to waste any time. Get back to work tomorrow morning.
We'll begin reopening our government immediately. And we can begin to lift this cloud of uncertainty and unease from our businesses and from the American people.
And the guy who comes out of this, the big loser who proved once and for all that he can't lead, doesn't know how to lead, does not control his own caucus, was John Boehner, who told a Cincinnati radio station yesterday, well, you know, I tried.
Well, listen, we've been locked in a fight over here trying to bring government down to size, trying to do our best to stop Obamacare, and we fought the good fight. We just didn't win.
Fought the good fight. But you know what? This was a fight They could not win. No way, no how, and they knew that going into it. They did it anyway. So, 2 quick questions, and get your comments at 866-55-PRESS. Now that it's over, what did we win, and who are the winners, who are the losers? There are 5 parts to this compromise. This is the same one, by the way, that we talked about 2 or 3 days ago when the Senate was just about ready to endorse it. Remember, then they dropped everything and let the House go through with one last Mickey Mouse attempt to come up with its own plan. So this does raise the debt ceiling, but only through February 7. It does reopen the government, but only through January 15. It sets up a conference committee, which will start working on the budget, which should have been done 6 months ago when the Senate passed the budget. It provides back pay for all the federal employees who were furloughed. And it makes one little change, hardly a change worth mentioning, to Obamacare, which says that the people who apply for federal subsidies to buy health insurance, they have to provide background information on their income so we're sure that they qualify, which everybody agrees to, nobody ever had a problem with, and should have been in Obamacare. It was assumed, I guess, but not specific in Obamacare in the first place. What do we gain by this? I'd say, again, absolutely nothing. What was gain? Nothing. The whole shutdown, remember, was all about ending Obamacare. Obamacare in no way impacted by the shutdown and in no way impacted by the federal deal. In fact, Obamacare, as you know, is off on a whole new tangent now with these health exchanges opening up. The only thing that Republicans gained by this is losing $31 billion for the economy, losing the goodwill of 800,000 federal employees and all of their families and the people who depend on them, and ratings for the Republican Party sinking to a whole new low. 53% of people blame Republicans for the shutdown. The approval rating of the Republican Party are now at 24%, the lowest ever. And 70% of Americans say the Republican Party, Republicans in Congress, put their own political agenda ahead of what's good for the country in dealing with a shutdown. So they lost. They gained nothing. They lost big time. The only guy who gained anything was Ted Cruz, who insisted last night on Sean Hannity, hey, he's happy, baby.
Well, it was unfortunate how this played out. I mean, the last 2 months, and it's worth for everyone watching this to have a word of encouragement. What we've seen over the last 2 months has been incredible. We saw millions of Americans come together. Over 2 million Americans sign a national petition at don'tfundit.com. Light up the phones here at the Capitol.
There it is.
Wow.
Hey, I'm a happy camper. I had 2. By the way, this fund is a fund that supports Ted Cruz.
Exactly.
It's his PAC, don'tfundit.com. And he had over 2 million people sign that petition. That means 2 million people who are now his supporters for 2016. So my question to you, was it worth it? What do you think about this deal? I don't think it's anything to cheer about at all because we're going to be right back into this mess in December, in January, and in February. And was it really worth destroying the credibility and the reputation of the Republican Party? Was it worth it to Republicans just to pump up Ted Cruz as Mr. Tea Party? 866-55-PRESS. Unbelievable. I think it's a bad deal. And I think the Republican Party really got screwed by their own Ted Cruz. 866-55-77-377.
Get social with Bill Press. Like us at Facebook.com/Bill Press Show. This is The Bill Press Show.
Don't look at me. Your hair's a bit frizzy today. Oh, you should pick that up. Oh, you're such a dork. Loser. Here, let me help you with that. Oops.
Every day, kids witness bullying.
Oh, look. Your crush is looking at you. Poor you.
They want to help, but don't know how.
See, no one here's gonna help you, because no one
Teach your
likes
kids how to be more than a bystander. Visit stopbullying.gov.
If you drive buzzed, it could cost you around $10,000. You'll face major legal fees, major fines, and steep insurance penalties. You could lose everything. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving, because buzz driving is drunk driving.
When some people struggle with their mortgage payments, they become frozen, petrified. Not knowing what to do, they do nothing. But the people who take action are far more likely to get the most positive outcome. Making home affordable is a free government program. Call now to talk one-on-one with a housing expert about the options that are right for you. Real help, real answers, right now.
Here at the GED Pep Talk Center, we have pep talkers standing by to get you motivated for your GED diploma. Text the name Terry to 69222 for a sympathetic pep talk.
You show people what you really are.
Or for a gentle pep talk, text the name Deborah.
You know, you're going to make people very proud of you.
And if that's not enough, text the name Danny for an extreme pep talk.
Prove everyone wrong. Show them you're the boss.
Get your GED pep talk and find free GED classes. Text the name of the person you want a pep talk from to 69222.
Did you see the world differently? Did you celebrate the victory?
So today, I state clearly and with conviction America's commitment to seek the peace and security of a world without nuclear weapons.
Did you stand up against our greatest threat? Change the world.
Seen on Free Speech TV and online on TawkrTV. This is the Bill Press Show.
8:26 minutes after the hour. John Boehner finally telling Republicans, look, guys, you just got to accept the fact we lost. So vote for this and move on. Well, despite that, 144 Republicans said, no, we're not going to vote for it, John Boehner. We don't care what you say. By the way, on that point, just on a related, maybe, or a political point, is worth mentioning, we have a new senator from New Jersey, Cory Booker, winning last night handily over Joe Lanigan, and he will be sworn in, you bet, very fast and on the job here in Washington. Meanwhile, on the budget deal yesterday, worth celebrating? I don't think so. Peter?
We're on Twitter at BP Show. At BP Show, Karen says, send the tab to Ted Cruz and John Boehner for the $30 billion that were lost.
Yeah, you know, I've seen two figures, by the way. During the break, I noticed Standard & Poor's, Moody's said $31 billion. Standard & Poor's is saying $24 billion. Yeah. You know what? All we know is this was not a free ride.
It's a lot of money.
A lot of productivity was lost on the part of federal workers. Small businesses couldn't apply for their loans. I've seen that $100 million and 24 to $30 billion lost to the economy. JT is calling from Dallas, Texas. What do you think about this, JT?
Am I on the air now?
You are.
Okay. I think that the Republican Party committed suicide. I think that I know a lot of Republicans. I'm a Democrat. I've been a Democrat all my life, and believe me, it's not easy being a minority in Texas.
In Texas, yeah.
I just want to say that I think that this is going to swing the state. I really believe that we're going to go blue. A lot of them say they'll never vote for a Republican again, and that means that's a vote for the Democrats.
Well, JT, yeah, absolutely. I got to tell you, if you look, there's no doubt the American people, I guess what I'm saying is, see it the way that you do. I mean, 53% of Americans, I don't think anybody comes out looking really good in this, but clearly Republicans come out looking far worse than the Democrats, and 53% of the American people blame Republicans, not the Democrats, for the government shutdown, which, again, didn't have to take place and accomplished absolutely nothing. We got lots of calls, and we'll get to a lot more of you when we come back here after the break at the half. 866-55-PRESS, the toll-free number. We got a deal, but is it worth celebrating?
This is the Bill Press Show.
This is my computer.
This is your computer. Let's go on the internet.
Let's go. Click it.
Yes.
Okay.
I cursor in between the R and the E. Pressing down, I want you to just push the period.
She's gonna love me all over again.
That's it. Jamaica, here you go.
Here we go.
Good job.
Thank you. Thank you. And I did it by myself. Feel smarter.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
So, same time next week?
Well, of course. Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. For free tips to help you save, go to Feed the Pig.
All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay. So who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet,
What to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
Hey, thanks for stopping by. You know, I followed your character since the first episode. I'm a big fan. Big fan.
Thank you.
And listen, your storyline, it makes for incredible TV drama. Thing is, your drug use is very adult content. Too adult for the kids. So I'm gonna have to block you.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Well, have a good one.
You're a nice lady.
David Jackson from the White House, USA Today. He'll be coming along in the next segment to tell us about the president coming out yesterday, congratulating leaders of the House and the Senate of both parties for cobbling together this agreement, such as it is. He signed the agreement at 12:30 this morning, up late for President Obama. He's usually in bed long before that. And he did express the hope that hopefully the next time we go into this, it's not going to be at the very 11th hour, and maybe we'll be able to come up with a deal that's going to last longer than a couple of months, which in effect ties us up all over again. Big winner, if you ask me, is Ted Cruz, a big loser, the American people and the Republican Party, and John Boehner. Joanne's out in San Francisco on KNEW. Joanne, good morning on the West Coast.
Good morning.
Hi.
Hey, good news. Democrats picked up a Republican seat in Florida, in Holiday, Florida, an hour north of Tampa. It was a Republican seat, special election. I worked both presidential elections there. And the Republican in 12 and 8, the Republican just crushed the Democrats in the House election. And the Democrats picked it up this time.
Was that yesterday, Joanne?
It was Tuesday.
Tuesday. That's right. Tuesday. Yeah. No, that's worth noting. Thank you. And also, I noted this morning, Steve Israel, who's head of the DCCC, Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee, said that as a result of the Republicans doing so badly in this shutdown, there's 6 new Democratic candidates for Congress, strong candidates, people who weren't sure they were going to run, have decided, oh no, I can beat a Republican this year. Or next year, I am going to run. So that's good news too.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got it. So pick up some even more seats, Joanne. Thanks for the call. Laurel is calling from Adrian, Minnesota. Hey, Laurel. Good morning.
Good morning, Bill. It's an honor to talk to you. It's my first time getting through the program, so it's an honor to talk to you.
You're very kind. My honor is all ours. What's up? What do you think?
My question is, who do you think gained more? Do you think the South gained more out of the Civil War, or do you think that the Republican Party gained more out of this shutdown debacle? Judging by the fact that there are Confederate flags flying in the White House, in front of the White House lawn from this protest, I think the South gained more.
I think the South gained more too. I agree. That's what I was going to say. Yeah.
And for all those watching on Free Speech TV, I appreciate you guys picking us up. To the folks in the studio, thank you for spelling my name right. I'm watching the little cards on the little mic and seeing it. Hey, it's spelled right. Thank you.
All right.
Okay. Do what I can.
We even got you in the right state. Sometimes we get people in the wrong state.
It happens.
Minnesota. All right, Ralph.
It happens.
Hey, good to make a new friend.
Yeah.
Make a new friend out in Adrian.
Stick around.
Adrian,
Stay
Minnesota,
a while.
Laurel. First time you see how pleasant it is, how easy it is. So come on back and tell all your friends. We love being on the local progressive talk radio station, and it's just fun to have that radio show also brought to you on Free Speech TV. This is Hari. Hari is calling from Los Angeles on Free Speech. Hey, Hari, good morning.
How you doing?
All right, I'm good. What's up? What do you think of this deal?
Well, what I wanted to just add to it, I just wanted to know if they can add an addendum to our constitutional rights, that if any public official that's elected by the people, that's put in office or in Congress, that anytime the government is shut down, they should automatically be deducted a month's pay for each day that we're under the shutdown. That's all I want to add.
Well, I'm not sure we could do that, but I'll tell you one thing. You're onto something. It's a point that I've made here several times. Is the members of Congress should not have been paid during the shutdown. Now, the federal employees are going to get their back pay, but the idea that they were home, 800,000 of them, not getting a paycheck, while members they're forced to do nothing. You realize it was against the law for them to come to work during that time. They even if they were so dedicated to their job that they were willing to come in and put in a few hours or keep things going or keep in touch with people, they could not do it. So they were forced to do nothing, not getting paid. They'll get their back pay. While members of Congress were sitting around doing nothing, and they were getting their paycheck. Not only that, as we learned, right? They were getting some of the perks because the house gym was open, even though they had to do their own towel service. So it was, I don't know whether we could dock them a month's pay, but they certainly should not get paid. And I'm sure the American people will go along with that. Again, 866-55-PRESS, the shutdown has ended. And, if I were, I think the Republican Party, back to Laurel's point, really are the big losers here.
I was going to ask about that because we were getting a lot of tweets about the future of the Republican Party. We're tweeting at BP Show. NC Nomad says, I think this is going to split the Republican Party. Jake says, I think this is the death of the Republican Party. So it's clear that the blame has been placed on the Republicans for the shutdown. So now what?
Now what is right. I think the Republican Party they face a big decision, and that is, are you going to go with Ted Cruz, that direction, or are you going to go to a saner direction, recognizing, for example, starting with the fact that Obamacare is the law of the land. It's what the American people want. American people are signing up for it, and you can improve it, but you're not going to kill it. So just get off that. But Ted Cruz is saying, oh, no. We didn't win this time, but the fight continues. They're going to continue. According to Ted, his direction is use every opportunity we can. And the first opportunity is going to be January 15, when it's time to reopen the government. The next one is going to be February 7, when it's time to raise the debt ceiling again. Ted Cruz will be mounting the same opposition, the same strategy the next time around. The question the Republican Party, I think, has to ask itself, are they going to fall into that same trap again? Now, knowing that we saw here, it was a dead-end street, right? Follow that same path again, or are they going to say, no, Ted, we tried that, it didn't work, we lost our shirt, we got the crap beat out of us, we're not going to do that again. I don't know the answer to that. I don't know which way they'll go, because the energy and the money from the Koch brothers and the Heritage Action Group and Jim DeMint at the Heritage Action Group is all with Ted Cruz, right? The organized. They're the ones they're organized. They've got people out there, as Ted Cruz said, 2 million people signing up on the website. So they're not going to give up. It's going to take some counter pressure on the part of some common sense Republicans to turn this thing around and to move the party in a different direction. And if they don't, it could mean the death of the Republican Party. And I'll tell you one thing. It probably means that the chances of the chances of the Republicans taking back the Senate are gone, and the chances of the Democrats taking back the House are improved, I'd say, by at least 50% today. And you know what? That's a good question for Deborah Wasserman Schultz, the chair of the DNC, who will be here, our guest in studio in the next hour. We're going to jump down to the White House next to talk to David Jackson, who's the Washington... I'm sorry, he's not the Washington Bureau Chief. He's the White House correspondent. I know that. I see him every day for USA Today with President Obama's comments last night about the deal. He spoke even before it was finalized by the House of Representatives. Stay tuned with us right here on the Bill Press Show and give us your comments at 866-55-PRESS.
On your radio, on TV, and online. This is the Bill Press Show.
So this is my computer.
This is your computer. Let's go on the internet.
Let's go. Click it.
Yes.
Okay.
I cursor in between the R and the E. Racing done. I want you to just push the period.
She's gonna love me all over again.
That's it. Jamaica, here you go.
Here we go.
Good job.
Thank you. Thank you. And I did it by myself. Feel smarter.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay. So who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
Hey, thanks for stopping by. I followed your character since the first episode. I'm a big fan. Big fan.
Thank you.
And listen, your storyline, it makes for incredible TV drama. Thing is, your drug use is very adult content. Too adult for the kids. So I'm gonna have to block you.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Well, have a good one.
You're a nice lady.
There's a lot of work ahead of us, including our need to earn back the trust of the American people that's been lost over the last few weeks.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Hey, here we go. That is President Obama at the White House last night in the White House briefing room after the Senate had approved the compromise agreement and before the House had voted to seal the deal. David Jackson on the job at the White House night and day. He's got a little cot down there. I've seen that right alongside of his desk.
Yes, I use the radio offices downstairs to take a little nap.
David Jackson joining us early this morning. David, so why did the president decide to come out before the vote was final in the House?
I think he wanted to do it in prime time, and there was a lot of uncertainties when the House vote would have taken place. And
yeah,
I know some House Republicans were upset, but if Obama had waited for the actual House vote, do you think they would have voted before 11 o'clock?
No,
I suspect they might have delayed it just to drag it out a little bit more. So he decided to come on out. Before too many Americans fell asleep.
Yeah. Was this the equivalent of a victory lap for him?
Well, they were trying to downplay it. It was very short. It was only a couple of minutes. I didn't detect too much gloating in it. I think he just wanted to get it out there. He wanted to get on the news, and he wanted to have the state, just like the clip you played earlier in this segment. He just wanted to get his words out there, saying the government was reopening, and now it's time to move forward and try to work together.
Do they consider it a victory at the White House?
Oh, very much so. They feel like, behind the scenes, there is more than a little gloating and crowing going on. They do feel like. I don't know who told. It was I think it was a Wall Street Journal quote last week about how we're winning this. That's a very accurate assessment of the way they feel behind the scenes.
They just don't want to say that publicly, right?
Exactly.
To appear to be gloating.
You don't want to rub their nose in if you can help it.
So the strategy of refusing to negotiate until the government was reopened, where he really held the line there. I guess in the end he got some criticism for it, but in the end it paid off.
Yeah, that's certainly the way the White House feels about it. He was definitely low key. Now he had some aides working the Hill in recent weeks. I know Dennis McDonough has been working the phones. Rob Neighbors has been spotted on the Hill for a few days. So there have been. It depends on how you define negotiating, I guess. There has been some White House involvement in cobbling this deal together, but the president took a very low key approach. That's what he wanted to do, and that's what he did. Now I don't think he'll have that luxury the next time around, but this time around he came out of it in good shape.
We were there at the briefing yesterday, and what struck me was that the general feeling was that, gee, this is great. Now we have a deal, and now we can move forward. But I wanted to raise the question about how good a deal really is this when you only get 2 or 3 months before you got to be dealing with the same issues all over again. They've got to recognize that this is at best a temporary fix, David. No?
Yeah, I think so. I think the hope is that somebody can cobble something together and get enough votes. So much of it depends on John Boehner, because a lot of this stuff, and this deal that was passed last night, I think would have passed the House at any time over the previous 16 days.
Absolutely.
So if people actually get down and vote and push the buttons, a lot of this stuff would go through. It wouldn't be as difficult as it's been for the last 16 days. So I think the White House would tell you it's really up to John Boehner. But they feel pretty confident they can put together some kind of package working with Congress in the months ahead that will float things through. I think I'm less concerned about the another government shutdown than about when the debt ceiling thing rolls around in early February again, because I think that the solution to that is just to get rid of the debt ceiling, but it doesn't seem to be a majority of people who want to do that. And I think that's a much more serious issue than any perhaps future shutdown.
Right, but it does seem to me that now that one way the White House lost on this, I believe, is so we now have 2 factors or 2 points of leverage for people who may not be happy with a particular administration policy. One is the debt ceiling, which does come up like every year or so. We're used to that. But now it's shutting down the government, which used to be like every 17 years you deal with this, and now we have to deal with it every 2 months, right?
Well, that's a very good point. The fact they did split those 2 items. I mean, the government funding, I guess, runs out in mid-January, and the debt ceiling expires now on February 7th. So, they're split up again, and rather than working in tandem.
Yeah, and we threw that one on top of the other one, So it's, I think it's just twice as much to have to deal with. The other thing is that Jay Carney yesterday was was exuding confidence that they're in this with this time out now. They got a little time, right? That they'll be able to get some other things done, like immigration reform and all of that. I don't see it. Do you?
No, I think they've got very much an uphill fight. It's become so personal now, and there's just so much bitterness around. And I think you can find a few quotes from House Republicans say we're not going to give Obama anything after this. So I mean, rightly or wrongly, fairly or unfairly, I think it's going to be very difficult for them to get anything beyond budget deals and debt payments at this point. They may be able to work at the margins on the budget in terms of maybe getting some more cuts or maybe even a few minor entitlement reforms at the margins. But beyond that, I think it's very difficult to see up until the next election. And that's what all this is headed to, is the congressional elections next year.
Now, I've noticed things are starting to look a little unkempt around the White House these days. The grass is a little longer than it normally is. So what do you hear? Is the White House staff coming back to work today?
Yeah, there should be people out mowing. Yeah, they're
really?
As soon as the light breaks, I think you'll see people out mowing. I think the National Park Service has been very frustrated in all this because not only have they had to furlough people, and they're the object of political attack. The Republicans have accused them of using the shutdown selectively. Yeah. But like I said, those people are professionals like anybody else. Sure. They want to do a good job, and I think it's very frustrating for them to see unkempt lawns whether it's at the White House or any national park. The White House garden is a mess right now. I think that's frustrated them, so I think they're eager to get back to work.
Yeah. Now, final question, David. Have you spotted the fox, the White House fox? I keep hearing the word that there's a new resident of the White House. 18 acres.
I've not seen him. I've heard about him, but I haven't seen him. Now I don't know. With the National Park Service coming back on full force now, he may be in a little bit of danger, so he needs to be careful. But, all I've seen is our favorites, the squirrels, running around.
Yeah, they've got the run of the place. Okay. Well, David, 1:30, I guess it is today, right? Briefing. We'll see you down there, and we'll try to get some straight answers out of Jay Carney. Good luck with that, huh?
Exactly. All right, we'll hang in there, though. Thank you, Bill.
Thanks, David. David Jackson, USA Today, usatoday.com.
This is the Bill Press Show.
This is my computer.
This is your computer. Let's go on the internet.
Let's go. Click it.
Yes.
Okay.
I cursor in between the R and the E. Racing dot. I want you to just push the period.
She's gonna love me all over again.
That's it. Jamaica, here you go.
Here we go.
Good job.
Thank you. Thank you. And I did it by myself. Feel smarter.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay. So who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
Hey, thanks for stopping by. I followed your character since the first episode. I'm a big fan. Big fan.
Thank you.
And listen, your storyline, it makes for incredible TV drama. Thing is, your drug use is very adult content. Too adult for the kids. So I'm gonna have to block you.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Well, have a good one.
You're a nice lady.
is the Bill Press Show.
Here we go. Bob Cusack from the Hill is going to hear as a friend of Bill for the next hour. We will be joined by the chair of the Democratic National Committee, Democratic Congresswoman Deborah Wasserman Schultz from Florida. And we have a new senator from New Jersey, Cory Booker, beating Mr. Lonigan by 11 points. Steve Lonigan losing by 11 points to Cory Booker yesterday. Cory Booker saying, we're going down to Washington. We're not just going to be good. I'm going to be great.
We are founded to be great, not good, to be great. And that's why I'm going to Washington. Take back this sense of pride, not to play shallow politics that's used to attack and divide, but to engage in the kind of hard, humble service.
Yeah, maybe Cory Booker better maybe tone it down a little bit when he comes to Washington. The last thing he wants to we don't need a Democratic Ted Cruz.
I was about to say the same thing.
Yeah, right. We don't need somebody who says, I'm a star, man. I'm a star from day one. Let's come down here, keep your head down, Cory Booker, and then do a good job working for the people of New Jersey. So we'll be back with Bob Cusack and Deborah Wasserman Schultz. Stay with us here on the Bill Press Show.
This is the Bill Press Show.
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. You know, but it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, you know, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
Well, what do you know? Good morning, everybody. On a Thursday, October 17, it is finally over. The government reopens today, and the Treasury Department will start paying our bills, or at least be able to pay our bills today, because the debt ceiling has been raised. The government's reopened. The Senate and the House both voting for the Senate for the compromise yesterday, and President Obama signing it into law early this morning at 12:30 a.m. Washington time. So Congress has gone home for the weekend. We can all breathe a sigh of relief, but not for very long. That's the bad part of this deal, because we'll be back to debating whether or not to reopen the government or keep it open in January 15, and we'll be debating all over again whether or not we're going to raise the debt ceiling come February the 7th. In the end, what did the Republican Party achieve by this long shutdown of the government? Absolutely nothing. There are no major changes at all to Obamacare, which was, remember, the point of the shutdown, to defund, to derail, or to kill Obamacare. Total failure on that. All the Republican Party achieved was to drive its approval ratings down to the lowest level ever. 70% of Americans think the Republican Party put their own political agenda ahead of what's good for the country. The only big winner in all of this is Ted Cruz, the big loser, John Boehner. Tell us what you think about this deal at 866-55-PRESS. That's our toll-free number. Give us your comments on Twitter at BP Show, and on Facebook at facebook.com/Bill Press Show. Thursday morning, October 17.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Don't look at me. Your hair's a bit frizzy today. Aww. You should pick that up. Oh, you're such a dork, loser. Here, let me help you with that. Oops.
Every day, kids witness bullying.
Oh, look. Your crush is looking at you. Poor you.
They want to help, but don't know how.
See, no one here's gonna help you, because no one
Teach your
likes
kids how to be more than a bystander. Visit stopbullying.gov.
If you drive buzzed, it could cost you around $10,000. You'll face major legal fees, major fines, and steep insurance penalties. You could lose everything. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving, because buzz driving is drunk driving.
When some people struggle with their mortgage payments, they become frozen, petrified. Not knowing what to do, they do nothing. But the people who take action are far more likely to get the most positive outcome. Making home affordable is a free government program. Call now to talk one-on-one with a housing expert about the options that are right for you. Real help, real answers, right now.
Here at the GED Pep Talk Center, we have pep talkers standing by to get you motivated for your GED diploma. Text the name Terry to 69222 for a sympathetic pep talk.
You show people what you really are.
Or for a gentle pep talk, text the name Deborah.
You know you're going to make people very proud of you.
And if that's not enough, text the name Danny for an extreme pep talk.
Prove everyone wrong. Show them you're the boss.
Get your GED pep talk and find free GED classes. Text the name of the person you want a pep talk from to 69222.
Did you see the world differently? Did you celebrate the victory?
So today, I state clearly and with conviction America's commitment to seek the peace and security of a world without nuclear weapons.
Did you stand up against our greatest threat? Change the world.
Broadcasting around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is the Bill Press Show.
It is over. Government back at work. Republicans blinked. Now, where do we go from here, and how good of a deal is it? Good morning, everybody. All the questions we're talking about here this morning on the Bill Press Show. Thursday, October 17. Coming to you live from our nation's capital. So Congress, the government goes back to work and Congress goes home. That's kind of the way things happen around here. I think they've had a lot of overnight flights from Dulles last night. Good to see you this morning. Thank you so much for being part of the program. I look forward to hearing from you at 866-55-PRESS. Look forward to getting your comments. So I've been getting a lot of them this morning on Twitter at BP Show. And on Facebook at facebook.com/BillPressShow. The team here this morning, as always, Peter Ogburn and Dan Henning.
Hey. Good morning.
With Alicia Cruz, got the phones covered. Cyprian Bolding is keeping us looking good on Free Speech TV and on our video stream at TawkrTV, youtube.com/TawkrTV. In addition, of course, we are coming to you as your morning radio show on your local progressive talk radio station. And he's here often enough we consider him a member of the team, managing editor of the Hill newspaper, Bob Cusack. Hello, Bob. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good to see you.
Busy week.
It has
Historic
been.
week, actually.
It's nice of you to take time out to come in on our program in between your many media roles and your star. I mean, just back from Hollywood, is that right?
Yeah. It was kind of an interesting thing where I was in Veep about a month ago. He landed a speaking role, and they called me in a panic a couple nights ago saying, we added a scene. And I'm like, this is kind of a bad week. But they were great. They were very flexible. So yesterday, got up very early, filmed the scene in Maryland, and then was able to come back and at my desk at the time I usually get there.
What do you play in Veep?
Well, that I can't say, but I
can.
Whoa! That's what
He's turned totally Hollywood. Like this morning, we had to take all the brown M&Ms out of the bowl. He won't let anybody make eye contact with him.
No, I signed a contract, so I can say don't play a journalist, and I don't play myself. So, but it'll be the third episode of the new season, which will
do you play the Veep
in April? No, I do not. I could not. I cannot hold a candle to Julia Louis-Dreyfus, who just won an Emmy for her role.
Yeah.
By the way, that show, if you haven't seen it, is phenomenal. It's so good. It's one of the best written shows.
Without a doubt.
On TV.
No, it was intimidating because it is honestly one of my favorite shows, and the cast was just awesome. They're very down to earth, very friendly.
Are you in a scene with her?
I might be.
Oh,
that's a bit of a tease, but I might be.
Right. So look for Bob Cusack in the Veep. You don't know when this is going to air?
Either late March or early April. It's around that time period. The new season starts in the spring. So they film until end of January.
Isn't that amazing how far in advance they're filming this?
You see, Bob had to do so many takes.
That's true. I did mess up a couple times, I got to admit.
All right. So shutdown ends. We've got a deal. How good a deal is it?
Well, overall, I mean, it's a very good deal for Democrats. There is no doubt about it. Republicans, once again, have to cave, House Republicans, to the Senate. I mean, overall, it does kick the can. There's no doubt about it. But the president said he wouldn't negotiate. He wouldn't give anything on Obamacare. He didn't. He wouldn't give entitlements. He didn't. So Democrats, by and large, they're cheering the deal because they got mostly what they wanted. But there is now a mechanism to set up a conference committee with Paul Ryan in the House and Patty Murray in the Senate. They're just so far apart. It's hard to see how they get a major deal by January.
Here's the thing when you look at this deal. First of all, the conference committee should have been named 6 months ago, right? There's no reason why it wasn't other than partisan politics, right? And this deal could have been and should have been voted on and would have been approved 3 weeks ago in its very same form, right?
Oh, yes. No, there's no doubt. And that's what I think Republicans have been on the defensive.
So what was it all about?
Because the Republicans, remember, they said, hey, Senate, you got to pass a budget. You got to pass a budget. Okay, well, they struggled to do so, but they finally did after 2 years. And then Paul Ryan said, I don't want to get into a budget committee unless we have a framework first. But now has agreed to. Now, interestingly, Paul Ryan voted against the deal last night, as did most House Republicans. I was a bit surprised. I thought Boehner would get the so-called majority. The majority, he did not.
No.
And so,
140. So John Boehner says, we fought the good fight, but we lost.
Right.
So there's no reason now to. He said there's no reason to vote no.
Right.
Well, 144 Republicans voted no. 87 voted yes.
Yeah, they gave him a standing ovation. They sang Amazing Grace, but they didn't listen to him. They voted how they wanted to vote. And that's why no one can be really optimistic that there's going to be any change anytime soon. I mean, do you think that Republicans are going to go for tax revenue come January? No, of course not. They're not. So,
And do you think that Ted Cruz and the Tea Party are going to accept Obamacare and not make that an issue again in January and February? I think it's going to be the same battle.
This is where I think GOP congressional leaders have to step up where they did not step up months ago when Ted Cruz talked about this strategy, which was, of course, flawed from the beginning. They didn't have the votes.
Impossible from the beginning.
Really, impossible. So, but then, and we've talked to some Republican members who, there was one member who went to John Boehner in mid-July and said, you got to shut this down. And he did not shut this down. So it festered over August, and then they tried to push it back in September, couldn't. Then they had to embrace this strategy, which wasn't going to work, as everyone knew. So I think that Boehner and McConnell right now, in the coming days, have to shut it down because obviously it's not going to work.
No, because if they don't, there's no doubt. In fact, hey, let's go back to that, Dan, that Ted Cruz. So everybody is saying this is horrible for the Republican Party, right? Ted Cruz is saying, hey, it was good for me. Here he is on Sean Hannity last night.
Well, it was unfortunate how this played out. I mean, the last 2 months, and it's worth for everyone watching this to have a word of encouragement. What we've seen over the last 2 months has been incredible. We saw millions of Americans come together. Over 2 million Americans sign a national petition at don'tfundit.com. Light up the phones here at the Capitol.
So he's got 2 million more followers, right, on his website.
Yeah, I mean, he does have an army. There was no doubt. And when we recently went in, we interviewed Peter King, and we were in the office, and I tell you, he was getting a lot of phone calls, and you could tell there was a lot of the Ted Cruz army that were complaining because Pete King has taken on Ted Cruz. So, but Ted Cruz is going to continue being Ted Cruz. And as far as the presidential hopefuls possible in 2016, Rand Paul, Ted Cruz, Marco Rubio all voted no last night.
Oh, they did? Yeah. All three of them voted
all
no.
Three of them.
Yeah, right.
So
it's interesting that you mentioned Peter King. Back to this kind of identity crisis that the Republican Party is having right now. Peter King, obviously, in the loudest voice in the House of saying this strategy is crazy.
Our image looks bad, and it's because of Ted Cruz and his supporters in the House, who basically led us into the valley of death.
Into the valley of death.
Wow.
Well, it's interesting. After the election, remember, the RNC put out a report, and it was called an autopsy. Well, this is you got to look at autopsy part 2. I mean, this was a debacle for the GOP.
So the question is, I think, is they've got to decide: are they going to stay? Are they going to allow him to march them one more time into the valley of death, or are they going to say, no, Ted, we went there once, and look what happened. We ain't going back.
Yeah, well, I mean, they have to.
But somebody's got to stand up and do it. This time, nobody did.
No, nobody did. And, when there's a leadership vacuum. And Mitch McConnell, I think, stepped up at the very end of this game.
Right.
Schumer, Durbin, and Reid complimented him. But even Tom Coburn, behind closed doors, was criticizing McConnell to his face, saying there's a leadership vacuum. Well, then McConnell, even though he's got a primary challenge, he's got a challenging general election, he stepped up. But you're right. Someone is going to have to do it, because if you don't do it in the beginning, you're going to have this kind of ending, and they can't have this kind of ending again. It's so embarrassing. Does
John Boehner keep his job?
Yes. We talked to a lot of conservatives who say he keeps his job through the end of this Congress. Then it's a question of, does he want this job? Do they retain the House? Or does he want, if they don't retain the House, he's gone. I mean, that's just the way it is. Sure. So there's going to be no challenge to him. And really, who could challenge him? Because he embraced the Tea Party challenge. Peter King could challenge him, but Peter King doesn't have the votes, and he's eyeing a 2016 bid himself. But no, his job is safe. They like John Boehner. He's a nice guy, but he has been a weak speaker.
And he certainly gave the Tea Party every possible chance, right, until the very end, including Wednesday, when we were on the brink of having a deal in the Senate, and then John Boehner says, no, we've changed our mind. We're going to put together our own House plan. And Mitch McConnell said, okay, we'll give you another day to try.
I know. And I just don't understand in that meeting. They had the meeting, and everyone says, oh, we're so united. They sang Amazing Grace. I just don't understand why, instead of singing, they say, okay, go around the room and say, are you a yes? Are you a yes? Because then they found out they had far more no's than they could stand. And also, Pelosi did a very good job of uniting the caucus, saying, we're not going to vote for that.
Mm-hmm.
So Republicans had to carry the load, and they can't.
And in the end, 198 Democrats, every Democrat in the House voted for it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which is amazing, because that locks in, those are sequester level funding.
Yes.
Yes. They don't like that, most of them.
Yeah. Yeah, I heard John Boehner earlier, or sometime last night, I guess, say something about, well, it's not as easy with the Republicans because the Democrats are all united. We're not like that. We're more independent. That's not That's never been the case before. Democrats have always been harder it's always been like herding cats for Democrats, and the Republicans have always been the ones who have been lockstep.
Yes. No, absolutely. Absolutely. And that was the case. Republicans were
now
very united in the minority, and they were also very united for the most part in Bush's first term. Second term, not so much. But no, that's the party that is united is the party that is stronger, and that is right now the Democrats.
All right. Now I want to ask you about my theory here, which is that by only extending the debt ceiling until February 7th, by only extending the reopening of the government until January 15, we are really going to be, we're not going to get out of this mess, right? We're not going to get out of it. We're going to be right back in it before you know it.
Yes.
And therefore, the possibility of getting anything else done, especially comprehensive immigration reform, global climate change or whatever, it's not going to happen, right?
No,
Would
it's
you
not.
agree?
And this is a problem for Obama. Obama comes out a winner in this fight. The way he deferred to Harry Reid, who really did a masterful job, other than one gaffe in the middle of it. But Obama's track record in the second term is not good. He hasn't got a lot done, of course, and that's because the Republicans have blocked it. But immigration reform doesn't look good. The Farm Bill.
Right.
Climate change could be done administratively. I think that's what Obama has to do. But what can Obama actually get through the Congress now? I don't think it's immigration. I don't think Republicans feel like they need to get it done before 2014, maybe before 2016. So the chances of immigration reform, I think, are less than 25% right now.
Yeah, and all of these same issues we've been dealing with. Plus, it seems to me you had this specter of not raising the debt ceiling kind of looming, and that would come up every year or every 2 years. But the government shutdown was like maybe once every 17 years that would come up. Now we have to deal with it again in 3 months.
Yeah, and it crowds out the rest of anything. And it's going to crowd out immigration again, and I'm sure the proponents of immigration were like groaning when they kicked the can down to January. I mean, many people on the Hill at least were happy that they didn't kick it till Christmas, so we'll be here until like Christmas Eve. So that probably won't happen. But no, this is going to be front and center. The questions of can Paul Ryan and Patty Murray agree on anything? And Democrats still are a little nervous, as you know, as President Obama dealing on entitlements. They were happy with how he handled this negotiation. Mm-hmm. They're a little worried about what's going to happen between now and January.
There's the deal. It's a basically 3-part deal. There's a conference committee appointed. The government is reopened as of this morning. They're out cutting the grass at the White House. At least we were told they will be as soon as the sun comes up. Or maybe it is up. I don't know in the studio.
It's
up
pretty
or
dark
not.
when I got in.
So government is reopened until January 15, and Treasury Department will be able to pay its bills. We have lifted the debt ceiling at least until February 7. Good deal, bad deal? Who's the winner? Who's the loser? And what about Ted Cruz? 866-55-PRESS. He seems to be the only one happy with this deal. Give us a call. Bob Cusack is here on the Full Court Press.
Seen on Free Speech TV and online on TawkrTV. This is the Bill Press Show.
Don't look at me. Your hair's a bit frizzy today. Oh, you should pick that up. Oh, you're such a dork, loser. Here, let me help you with that. Oops.
Every day, kids witness bullying.
Oh, look. Your crush is looking at you. Poor you.
They want to help, but don't know how.
See, no one here's gonna help you, because no one
Teach your
likes
kids how to be more than a bystander. Visit stopbullying.gov.
If you drive buzzed, it could cost you around $10,000. You'll face major legal fees, major fines, and steep insurance penalties. You could lose everything. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving, because buzz driving is drunk driving.
When some people struggle with their mortgage payments, they become frozen, petrified. Not knowing what to do, they do nothing. But the people who take action are far more likely to get the most positive outcome. Making home affordable is a free government program. Call now to talk one-on-one with a housing expert about the options that are right for you. Real help, real answers, right now.
Here at the GED Pep Talk Center, we have pep talkers standing by to get you motivated for your GED diploma. Text the name Terry to 69222 for a sympathetic pep talk.
You show people what you really are.
Or for a gentle pep talk, text the name Deborah.
You know you're going to make people very proud of you.
And if that's not enough, text the name Danny for an extreme pep talk.
Prove everyone wrong. Show them you're the boss.
Get your GED pep talk and find free GED classes. Text the name of the person you want a pep talk from to 69222.
Did you see the world differently? Did you celebrate the victory?
So today, I state clearly and with conviction America's commitment to seek the peace and security of a world without nuclear weapons.
Did you stand up against our greatest threat? Change the world.
This is the Bill Press Show.
25 minutes after the hour now here, the Bill Press Show. Bob Cusack is managing editor of The Hill, thehill.com. You want to know what's going on in Washington? At either end of Pennsylvania Avenue. All the details, all the issues. Go to thehill.com. We will be joined by Congresswoman Deborah Wasserman Schultz, chair of the Democratic National Committee, in the next segment. Peter.
So you're trying to figure out what exactly is going on with the shutdown and the debt ceiling, and why is Ted Cruz doing what he's doing. CNN welcomed Alex Castellanos, Republican strategist, to talk about it and sort of explain what's going on.
And with Anderson Cooper.
With Anderson Cooper, and he had a very interesting way of explaining what Ted Cruz is up to.
A friend explained to me today, finally, what Ted Cruz is doing, and I finally understand. He's having bunny sex. It actually...
This is the late night edition of 360.
In nature, there are boom and bust cycles. The snowshoe hare, every 10 years, multiplies sixfold.
Are you high? What are you talking about?
I'm high. Let me explain. Totally high. I wish I was after here. The snowshoe hare, I thought it's a marvelous explanation. Every 6 years, every 10 years, multiplies sixfold. Bunnies like sex, apparently. But the boom produces a bust. They press their food supply. They invite predators. Right now, Ted Cruz, what he's doing feels good. He's growing his supporters. It's leading the Republican Party, I think, into a bust.
You're digging a ditch, Alex.
I love to dig ditches.
I got to tell you, that is...
Are you high?
That's amazing.
Really
Ted
good.
Cruz is up to rabbit sex. Sure.
Bunny
Bunny sex.
Please, it's the snowshoe hare.
The snowshoe hare.
Alex
I think it's more like an
I mean-
orgy. Everybody gets screwed in a shutdown.
Alex Castellanos is a good friend of mine, and he's a very smart guy and has done some great political work. But boy, that's such a torture.
I think everyone's a little tired. During the show a little bit.
Or high.
Or high. One of the two.
So, what's next on the agenda, do you think? I mean, Congress just takes a few days off and then they come back and regroup, huh?
I think Obama, and you've already started to see it, he pivots to immigration. He's got to revive that, but not get too involved because then that causes a backlash. And this is a do or die stretch for immigration. I mean, we both think it's unlikely, but once we get into the election year, it's just not going to happen. So they've got to press the House to act. They have not passed an immigration bill at all. I thought they were possibly going to pass something before the August recess, narrow, not anything like the Senate bill. But Schumer was fine with that. He's like, well, let's just get in a conference. We've got to get to conference. But there's not a lot of trust between the parties. That was evidenced during this showdown. So Obama's got a tough task to revive immigration reform.
Who do you see? We really don't. We'll have to get into this maybe in the next segment with Congresswoman Deborah Wasserman Schultz. But where I was leading is, who do you see emerging as the voice? Mitch McConnell, because of his problems, can't be the anti-Ted Cruz voice. But somebody in the Republican side on the Senate, it seems to me, has to emerge. John McCain, I don't think people are going to follow anymore. I don't know who it is. We'll keep that around in the next segment. The chair of the DNC, Deborah Wasserman Schultz, joining us here. Bob Cusack and me. Stay around.
Is the Bill Press Show.
So this is my computer.
This is your computer. Let's go on the internet.
Let's go. Click it.
Yes.
Okay.
I cursor in between the R and the E. Pressing down, I want you to just push the period.
She's gonna love me all over again.
That's it. Jamaica, here you go.
Here we go.
Good job.
Thank you. Thank you. And I did it by myself. Feel smarter.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
So, same time next week?
Well, of course. Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. For free tips to help you save, go to Feed the Pig.
All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay. So who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
Hey, thanks for stopping by. You know, I followed your character since the first episode. I'm a big fan. Big fan.
Thank you.
And listen, your storyline, it makes for incredible TV drama. Thing is, your drug use is very adult content. Too adult for the kids. So I'm gonna have to block you.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Well, have a good one.
You're a nice lady.
Follow us on Twitter @BP Show. This is The Bill Press Show.
It is 33 minutes after the hour now on a Thursday morning, October 17. Great to see you this morning. Thank you again for joining us as we come to you live coast to coast from our studio here on Capitol Hill in Washington, D.C. We are there on your local progressive talk radio station. Of course, we are there on Free Speech TV and our video stream on TawkrTV at youtube.com/TawkrTV. And brought to you today by AFSCME, you know, the good men and women of AFSCME, the largest public employee and healthcare workers union in the entire country under President Lee Saunders. They are making America happen, and for more information, you can go to their website at afscme.org. That's AFSCME.org. We have a deal, somewhat of a deal at any rate. It has been approved by the Senate, by the House, and signed into law by the President of the United States. Bob Cusack is here as a friend of Bill this entire hour from The Hill, managing editor, and joined now by the chair of the Democratic National Committee, Congressman from the state of Florida, Deborah Wasserman Schultz, who is very happy this morning. Congresswoman, nice to see you.
Good morning. I'm definitely happy that we've reopened the government and we did not default on our nation's debt.
And you have another reason to be happy about news from New Jersey this morning?
Yes. Cory Booker was elected United States Senator from New Jersey to replace the late and wonderful Frank Lautenberg by a healthy margin, double digits, and really. It's apropos that on the night that we re-injected some sanity into governing, that a Tea Party candidate like Steve Lonegan was soundly rejected by the voters of New Jersey. But more importantly, that Cory Booker's message of moving forward and fighting for the middle class was embraced.
And no doubt, this compromise on the budget. The most important thing is that it's good for the country to get the government working again.
Yes.
It's good for the country and the world not to default on our debts. There is also a political side to this this compromise. The New York Times makes it very clear: Republicans back down ending budget crisis. How do you see the political dimensions of this agreement and this battle we've had over the last month or so, Congresswoman?
Well, I think we need to step back from the breach here and allow the sanity that, like I said, was re-injected into how we govern take hold. And I want to make sure that I do my part personally to focus on reaching across the aisle. We have new deadlines that were established, Budget Conference Committee in mid-December. We've got to work together to try to make sure we don't go to this place again. And we've got to make sure that the Ted Cruzes of the world are roundly rejected because he's still fanning the flames, even up to the vote last night.
Do you see, jump in here, Bob, do you see, putting your other hat on, your Democratic National Chair hat on, that this makes your job easier now in terms of holding on to the Senate, maybe getting the House back, picking up some governorships around the country?
I think what it does, is underscore how stark the contrast is between the two paths. You remember during the campaign last year, President Obama said, we've got two paths and two very distinct visions, and the voters chose the Democrats' path in President Obama's direction, and I think this has made it easier to point out why we need to stay on that path.
Along those lines, Congresswoman, I just want to get your reaction. Conservative Matt Drudge tweeted out, Speaker Pelosi, Part 2, opening January 5th, 2015. You think that's going to happen? Do you agree with it?
I certainly hope that he's correct, and I appreciate that prediction. It might cause me to call Matt Drudge a visionary.
Wait, especially coming from Matt Drudge.
Exactly. And I mean, Republicans badly stumbled here. There's no doubt about it. And they had a strategy that we were talking about before that was never going to work, that they had no end game. They couldn't shut Ted Cruz down. Are you confident that Republicans are going to be able to shut Ted Cruz down, and maybe that they're going to bend on stuff like they haven't, like tax revenue? I mean, they've been pretty adamant about that.
This morning I'm going to be a glasses half full person.
Okay.
And one of the things that I talk about which I think you're going to get into in a second.
Yeah, let me just interrupt.
The reason
I meant to say you also have a new book out, and we appreciate you coming here. So For the Next Generation. So pick it up from there.
Thank
and then
you.
We'll talk.
So one of the things I talk about that's so important in the book For the Next Generation is that we've got to stop with the extreme intense rhetoric, and we've got to stop being so focused on obliterating and pounding our opponents. So, look, I think it was a good thing that we backed away from the edge last night, that we put the 800,000 federal employees back to work, and that we moved forward on a path that we can hopefully try to avoid this in the future. So I'm not going to do a happy dance today with my political hat on. Today I'm going to say, we have an opportunity to reject Tea Party extremism, to reject the divisiveness and polarization in general that has taken place, and to work together. We've got to stop the my way or the highway politics, and I say that even as the chair of the DNC.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. You're a congresswoman, you're a mom, you're a wife, you're
She's
head of the DNC,
author.
and how did you have time to write a book, and why did you write the book?
Well, I started thinking about writing the book 3 years ago, and really started this process 3 years ago when, it just right after the elections in 2010. Democrats lost 63 seats. The Tea Party came to power in at least in part.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized that all the decisions, as they were hurtling us towards crisis to crisis governing, I realized all the decisions I make are through the lens of being a mom, and including policy decisions. And I wanted to sound the alarm bell. This is a book that is not written for Washington insiders. If you guys read it, you'll say, yeah. I know all that, except for the stories that I talk about, related to my own experience. But I wanted regular people, moms that I see in the supermarket at home, who are so frustrated but don't know how to make a difference themselves, to give them a roadmap. And in each chapter, I take a different issue and give them sort of my view of the world, my experience with those issues, and how if we don't make sure we do something and stop blocking out the sun on all these important issues, that it's going to hurt our kids.
Right. And the book is For the Next Generation, Debbie Wasserman Schultz, a wake-up call to solving our nation's problems. And it's just out. So.
It is. It was out starting Tuesday.
All right. There it is. Hot off the press. Right.
There you go.
As we say. You've mentioned the Tea Party a couple of times. And there are 20, I never got the exact count. The New York Times showed 20 photos at one point, or 20, 25, 30, 35, however many they are. And they've really been...
I think it's probably more like 40 or 50.
40, okay.
Yeah.
They've been leading the agenda. They're still the minority, but they've been leading the agenda.
The tail has been
House.
wagging the dog, yes.
Exactly. No doubt about it. And everybody says it's because they are in these absolutely safe Tea Party districts because of reapportioning. Do you buy that, and do you think that they are there forever and it's impossible to dislodge them?
No. Most definitely not. Look, we have had years in which one party or the other has lost seats in a midterm. We clearly lost the majority of legislative chambers in 2010, in addition to the loss of Congress
of the House,
Mm-hmm. And so that caused a lot of districts to be redrawn by Republican controlled chambers. So we're going to be very focused over the next 4 cycles at the DNC on making sure that we reverse those trends. And we think that I think that the extremism that is embraced by the Tea Party, the lack of willingness of working together, people grow weary of that. I think even in Tea Party drawn districts, you have people who reach a point that they say enough is enough. And they don't, hopefully most Americans are not voting for constant gridlock and getting nothing accomplished.
The other thing that seems to me is pretty obvious is that there are people in those Tea Party districts who don't have health insurance and would like to get it for for their families.
Who want a good education for their kids.
Want a good education for their kids. A lot of them, I'm sure, who might need food stamps to get them over particularly. I mean, the problems that...
With redistricting specifically, though, we do have an opportunity to make sure that you don't have representatives choosing their own constituents and have constituents actually choose their representatives. In Florida in 2010, the only bright spot in our state that election was we passed a constitutional amendment with 63% of the vote that required the legislature, which is led by Republicans, to use standards when they draw the districts. So they had to ignore incumbency. They had, and it had to ignore incumbency. They had to ignore a party, and they had to respect municipal boundaries. And we picked up 4 seats in Florida in our congressional delegation. We have a purple state. It's 50-50. We've won 4 out of the last 5 presidential elections on the Democratic side in Florida. And as a result, we went from a delegation that was 19-6, incredibly lopsided given that we're a 50-50 state, to now it's 17-10. And we have a lawsuit that we think might end up making sure that we redraw those maps. We picked up 8 seats in the state house. We picked up 2 seats in the state senate in 2010. So standards injected into the process or independent commissions make sure that voters choose their representatives.
Right, and that's what happened in California. We went to an independent commission, got away out of the politics, so there is hope there. Deborah Wasserman Schultz, she wears many hats, 2 of them, Congresswoman from Florida and chair of the DNC, and author... And mom, and author of the new book, For the Next Generation. We have a link up on our website. Of course, you can get it at your local bookstore or at Amazon. We'll be right back with Bob Cusack and Debbie Wasserman Schultz.
This is the Bill Press Show.
This is my computer.
This is your computer. Let's go on the internet.
Let's go. Click it.
Yes.
Okay.
I cursor in between the R and the E. Racing dot, I want you to just push the period.
She's gonna love me all over again.
That's it. Jamaica, here you go.
Here we go.
Good job.
Thank you. Thank you. And I did it by myself. Feel smarter.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay. So who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
Hey, thanks for stopping by. You know, I followed your character since the first episode. I'm a big fan. Big fan.
Thank you.
And listen, your storyline, it makes for incredible TV drama. Thing is, your drug use is very adult content. Too adult for the kids. So I'm gonna have to block you.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Well, have a good one.
You're a nice lady.
Streaming live video right now at youtube.com/TawkrTV. That's TAWKR-TV. This is The Bill Press Show.
Here we go at 12 minutes now before the top of the hour on a Thursday, October 17. Congresswoman Deborah Wasserman Schultz here in studio with us. Debbie Wasserman Schultz, as it
Yeah,
says
my
on the
mother
book.
calls me Deborah when she's mad at me. So.
Oh, is that right? So Debbie, you prefer.
Yes,
okay.
please.
There you go. And Bob Cusack here, managing editor of The Hill, as a friend of Bill. And I remember, Congresswoman, you and I met on Crossfire in the year 2000 during the big recount when you were in the state senate in Florida.
Yes.
And Bob, she was...
When I realized my dream of debating Bob Novak and fighting side by side with Bill Press.
And she was damn good, I got to tell you. I was impressed.
You knew
I
she
said.
would be rising.
I had some big hair, let me tell you. And that's saying a lot, given my hair.
Bigger hair then than
Bigger,
now.
well, it was, almost,
But
still
she
80s.
was down
You may
there.
have to show that clip.
Oh, God. Yeah, maybe not.
She was down there fighting the good fight to just let Florida count the votes,
Yes.
which unfortunately the Supreme Court didn't allow. And now with your other hat as chair of the Democratic National Committee, some important races going on this year. Usually we have a year off, but this year, no. Governor's races, first of all, in Virginia. Do you read it the way everybody else does? Objectively now, not just
Sure.
what you want to happen?
Well, informed objectivity.
Okay.
Because
I like that.
I've been campaigning around Virginia for the next governor of the Commonwealth, Terry McAuliffe, and his message of focusing on making sure that we can help the middle class grow larger, that we can create businesses and make sure that business opportunities and jobs, that's resonating, especially against one of the more extreme Tea Party candidates that Virginia's ever seen, in Ken Cuccinelli, the Attorney General.
You live in Florida. I'm sorry, in Virginia.
Yes.
Bob, right?
Yeah, and it's a lot of people have been surprised that McAuliffe has pulled away. The shutdown certainly did not help Cuccinelli. There's no doubt about it. But New Jersey, a tougher road. Do you think that there's any chance that it could be an upset that Christie could go down?
Well, Barbara Buono, who I campaigned with this past Monday.
Great candidate.
She really is. A fantastic state senator, has defied the odds repeatedly, every office that she's run for. All the pundits predicted she wouldn't be successful. So I think, we need to not just fully embrace the conventional wisdom. It is, look, if you look at Chris Christie's record, where you have soaring property taxes, an unemployment rate that's at 8.2%, well above the national average. You have the second highest foreclosure rate in the country, sadly behind my state, which holds the top spot. He vetoed marriage equality. He vetoed legislation that would have made sure women can get equal pay. I mean, this is a guy who vetoed the minimum wage. He is the governor of New Jersey, Chris Christie, is totally out of step with the values of New Jersey voters. And if Barbara has what she needs to get her message out, I think, she'll have a much better shot.
Chris Christie is also appealing the Supreme Court decision in New Jersey on same-sex marriage, isn't he?
Yes, he is.
Not only did he veto the legislation when the court said you were wrong, then he's appealing.
He's doing all he can to prevent marriage equality and people simply being able to love who they love and have in the eyes of the law that their union recognized.
For a purple state of Florida, you have a very, in my judgment, very retrograde governor, Tim Scott.
Rick Scott.
Yes. Rick Scott. I'm sorry. And what are Democrats? What are the plans for getting that governorship back?
Well, there's a reason that Rick Scott is,
which is next year, I believe it's up. Correct?
It's next year. Yes, 2014.
Yeah.
Rick Scott is, is fighting for the bottom spot of being the least popular governor in America. He's either the worst, or the second worst in terms of approval ratings, and with good reason. He's earned every bit of that. He's really dismantled our public education funding. He's thrown obstacles in the path of voters time and again with voter suppression laws. He has really he's rejected $2 billion in high-speed rail funds. For a guy that wants to bring business to Florida and boost our economy. The obstacles that he's thrown in the path of progress are pretty shocking. So I think we're going to have a strong candidate for governor against him next year, and we'll take the governor's mansion back.
Any chance of naming that candidate, or who do you think it's going to be?
There aren't any. There's only one announced candidate right now, Nan Rich, who happens to be my former state senator, who succeeded me in the legislature. But I think you'll see other candidates.
I keep hearing Charlie Crist, former Republican governor.
I'm pretty confident that Charlie Crist will ultimately run for governor as a Democrat.
That would be a stunning reversal,
yes,
right?
A Republican and then became an independent and lost to Marco Rubio, and now obviously has changed significantly and become
Bob,
a Democrat.
He's not changed that much. I was actually surprised on so many occasions when Charlie Crist was governor as a Republican.
Yeah.
That he did things that he didn't have to do. He made sure that we made it easier to vote. After the recount, when we switched over to touchscreen machines that had no ability to actually go through a manual recount, and voters were incredibly uncomfortable pushing that that vote button, and your vote goes into oblivion. He required and went over the head of the Republican legislature that we go back to a paper ballot through optical scanning.
Oh, did it?
Yeah.
That's good. We have run out of time, friends. Bob Cusack, Congresswoman, Debbie Wasserman Schultz. For the Next Generation is a book. We've got a link up on our website, and also for the DNC, it's dnc.org, correct?
Democrats.org.
Democrats.org, and you can find out all about all the important races across the country and the work of the DNC. Thanks so much, Congresswoman.
Thank you, Bill.
Great to see you. Thanks, Bob.
Thank you both.
I'll be back to tell you what the president's up to today.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Well, Ted Cruz says he's happy with the deal. He's happy with the deal, even though they lost everything. He's happy because 2 million people signed up to his website. Yeah, that's going to boost his chances for 2016, but it seems that's a high price to pay, costing the economy $31 billion and putting 800,000 federal employees out of work for almost 3 weeks just to help Ted Cruz. We'll talk about that more in our third hour at youtube.com/TawkrTV.
Don't look at me. Your hair's a bit frizzy today. Aww, you should pick that up. Oh, you're such a dork. Loser. Here, let me help you with that. Oops.
Every day, kids witness bullying.
Oh, look. Your crush is looking at you. Poor you.
They want to help, but don't know how.
See, no one here's gonna help you, because no one
Teach your
likes
kids how to be more than a bystander. Visit stopbullying.gov.
If you drive buzzed, it could cost you around $10,000. you'll face major legal fees, major fines, and steep insurance penalties. You could lose everything. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving, because buzz driving is drunk driving.
When some people struggle with their mortgage payments, they become frozen, petrified. Not knowing what to do, they do nothing. But the people who take action are far more likely to get the most positive outcome. Making home affordable is a free government program. Call now to talk one-on-one with a housing expert about the options that are right for you. Real help, real answers, right now.
Here at the GED Pep Talk Center, we have pep talkers standing by to get you motivated for your GED diploma. Text the name Terry to 69222 for a sympathetic pep talk.
You show people what you really are.
Or for a gentle pep talk, text the name Deborah.
You know you're going to make people very proud of you.
And if that's not enough, text the name Danny for an extreme pep talk.
Prove everyone wrong. Show them you're the boss.
Get your GED pep talk and find free GED classes. Text the name of the person you want a pep talk from to 69222.
President Obama gets the briefing this morning with the Vice President at 9:45. At 10:35, he's going to be making a statement about the compromise signed last night, signed early this morning by him. And then at 11:30, he'll start a meeting with the Italian Prime Minister that will continue over lunch with him and the Vice President. Jay Carney will be conducting our daily White House briefing in the briefing room at 1:30 this afternoon. Back with more here on the Bill Press Show.
This
Stay around.
is the Bill Press Show. Broadcasting around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
Republicans blinked. The president held firm. We now have a deal, and the government is reopened this morning, and we are, yes, going to be able to pay our bills, will not default. With that good news, it's mixed news, but mostly good news. Good morning, everybody. Great to see you today. And welcome to the Bill Press Show this Thursday, let's make it. Thursday, October 17. Oh, the days all run together in a government shutdown. We're coming to you live on your local progressive talk radio station all across this great country of ours. We're also seen live on our video stream this hour only. Meaning we've lost Free Speech TV, but the video stream continues at TawkrTV. That's youtube.com/TawkrTV. And, of course, you know how to spell Tawker, TAWKR-TV. In Washington, D.C., here right on Capitol Hill, we've got the team assembled, as always, Peter Ogburn and Dan Henning.
Hey.
With Alicia Cruz there, standing by to take your phone calls at 866-55-PRESS. That's the toll-free number, 866-55-77-377. And Peter will capture your comments on Twitter at BP Show and on Facebook at facebook.com/Bill Press Show. Keeping us looking good on the video stream, TawkrTV. Cyprian Bolding, our videographer, gets the big wave this morning as well. So, got a little hairy last night on the House floor while they were voting. Late last night, the president ended up signing the bill at 12:30 this morning, but it was in the 10 o'clock hour, roughly, right, when the House voted?
Yeah.
And a woman who's a stenographer, part of the regular House team, either meaning she was like always there, right? She's not some tourist who broke through the barriers or whatever. She either had too much coffee or too much to drink or was furloughed too long. We're not sure, but she just went nuts last night, literally, on the House floor, started screaming about God and Jesus, and they had to remove her from the chamber. Here, disrupted the whole vote. Here she is.
He will not be mocked. He will not be mocked. Don't touch me. He will not be mocked. The greatest deception here is this is not one nation under God. It never was. Had it been, it would not have been. No. It would not have been. Constitution would not have been written by Freemasons. They go against God.
Molly, come on.
You cannot serve two masters.
Those who know, they know her. They're trying to just get her out of there. Obviously, she totally lost. She reminds me of some of these religious extremist nuts that I see in front of the White House almost every day. But anyhow.
Yeah, it doesn't sound good. It sounds like she had
good.
sort of a break from reality.
I think she had a breakdown. I don't think she'll have her job much longer.
Yeah.
No. We have will be a lot to talk about with this so-called deal. Want to get your comments on how good you think it is and whether it's worth celebrating. And Sungmin Kim, who is a congressional reporter for Politico, was on the scene throughout the shutdown. She'll be joining us at the half hour to give us her insights as well. And we'll get right to it and take your calls. But first,
this is the Full Court Press.
On this Thursday, other headlines making news in sports. The Detroit Tigers shuffled their batting order ahead of Game 4 of the ALCS last night, and it paid off. The game was quickly decided in a 5-run second inning. The Tigers beat the Boston Red Sox 7-3. That series now even at 2 games apiece. In L.A., the Dodgers hung on to extend the NLCS thanks to 4 home runs. They beat the St. Louis Cardinals 6-4. They now trail 3-2 in that series as they head back to St. Louis.
Go Dodgers. And this means the Tigers Red Sox will be back in Boston over the weekend,
Fenway
right?
Park.
Yeah, right.
Helps Boston.
It's exciting, man. I mean, it's 2 exciting series going on.
Lots of attention on the little-known Senate chaplain in recent weeks as people across the nation and in Congress have been looking maybe to a higher power or at least just for a calming voice during the government shutdown. And a big surprise this week when Reverend Barry Black appeared during his morning 1-minute prayer not wearing his signature bow tie. He says while he wears a bow tie 95% of the time, and he knows that's how people recognize him, he told the Hill newspaper he wanted to demonstrate to the nation that he's a fashion heretic and he's not hemmed into any style.
Well, you know, Tucker gave up the bow tie, too.
Yeah,
so,
that's right.
Yeah.
It's kind of over now.
And Oreo cookies are addictive. A new study from Connecticut College reveals that Oreos are just as addictive as crack cocaine, at least for lab rats. ABC reports neurons in the rat brain's pleasure centers were activated more than when they were on cocaine. The study also found that much like humans, the rats ate the creamy center of the cookie first, then the wafers.
I actually think it's the other way around. I think that crack cocaine is as addictive as Oreo cookies, I found out.
I got to tell you, there's nothing like a good Oreo cookie. Man, that makes me hungry for one right now.
Don't forget, crack is whack.
Alicia, can you go across the street to CVS and see if they have
Breakfast of Champions. Hey, and while you're out there, get me some crack. Crack is whack.
Here we go. 12 minutes. It's 12 minutes after the hour now. Yes, indeed. The vote first in the Senate, where the compromise was approved yesterday, 81 to 18. All 18 no votes were cast by Republicans in the Senate. And the three musketeers looking at 2016, Ted Cruz, Marco Rubio, and Rand Paul all voted no. In the House, then the president spoke last night, and then later the House voted, and the House vote was, again, pretty lopsided, thanks to the Democrats, 285 to 144. All 144 votes in the House were also cast by Republicans. All 98 Democrats in the House voted for the plan, as well as 87 Republicans. It's interesting that Speaker Boehner said yesterday, we'll get to that in just a minute, we fought the good fight, we did everything we could, we just were not successful. And then he said there is no reason why any Republican should vote against this now. Well, guess what? 144 Republicans said, well, Mr. Speaker, we don't care what you say, we're going to vote no. And they did. The deal has 5 parts to it, actually. First of all, it reopens the government, but only until January 15. It raises the debt ceiling, but only until February the 7th. It requires that, and this is something that everybody agreed, the only real change it makes is in Obamacare. It says that for those people who apply for a federal subsidy to buy health insurance, that HHS has to first check to make sure that they qualify based on the level of their income, that they qualify for the size subsidy that they have applied for. Of course, they would check that anyway. It just puts it in writing. It also, so that's 3. Number 4, it creates a conference committee, sets up a conference committee, a budget conference committee, House and Senate members, bipartisan, that will have to look at a possible balanced budget deal and come forward with some recommendations by December 15. And then finally, the settlement does say that all federal employees who were furloughed will be paid their back pay. That is the deal. Even before it was voted on the House, leader Nancy Pelosi for the Democrats thanked John Boehner for scheduling a vote, even though this is a vote that he could have scheduled 3 weeks ago and it would have turned out the same way.
Thank you, Speaker Boehner, for finally allowing a majority of House members to reopen government and avoid a default that would have clearly wreaked havoc on our economic credibility and the stability of our country.
And once the Senate had voted, again, lopsided, 81 to 18, the seat there, Frank Lautenberg, is empty, which is why there are only 99 votes, and Cory Booker had not yet been elected and certainly hadn't been sworn in. But once the Senate had voted, knowing there was a vote scheduled for the House and that it would most likely pass, President Obama didn't waste any time. He came out and thanked the leaders of both parties for cobbling this agreement together.
I want to thank the leadership for coming together and getting this done. Hopefully next time, it won't be in the 11th hour.
And the president said, okay, we're not going to waste any time. We want everybody to get back and work starting this morning.
We'll begin reopening our government immediately. And we can begin to lift this cloud of uncertainty and unease from our businesses and from the American people.
So we were informed earlier that they're going to start cutting the grass at the White House. They probably already have. once the sun comes up this morning, they won't have to depend on that guy from South Carolina anymore.
That's right.
Yeah.
To come over.
The rogue lawnmower.
And John Boehner, he sort of said, well, what the hell? We tried. We just didn't make it.
Well, listen, we've been locked in a fight over here trying to bring government down to size, trying to do our best to stop Obamacare, and we fought the good fight. We just didn't win.
That was to a radio station yesterday in Cincinnati, the only public comments he made on what was really a huge defeat for him and a huge defeat for the Republican Party. So two things. Number one, and love your comments on this, about the deal itself, whether it's worth celebrating. I think it's worth accepting, but not really worth celebrating, because a point we've made earlier in the week when it looked like this was the outline of the deal, we didn't really buy ourselves much time, and we didn't really solve the problem. We're going to be back in the same fix. We're going to be back in the same stew come a couple of months from now. So we're going to have to re-argue whether or not the government should be open or closed or temporarily shut down. We're going to have to re-argue that January the 15th, and we're going to have to re-debate and battle it out again over whether or not to raise the debt ceiling as of February 7th. So that's going to preoccupy us between now and then. All we did, as several people have pointed out, I hate to use that old phrase again, is kick the can down the road, and not very far down the road. So the deal itself, I don't think is a deal worth popping the champagne corks for. But when you look at what happened, you've got to admit that the real losers in this deal were the Republican Party, with one exception. The Republican Party lost because they announced, here is what we're going to do. We are going to shut down the government in order to, for the sole purpose of killing or defunding Obamacare. They shut down the government for 16 days. They reopened the government. Obamacare, not touched, not impacted whatsoever. So the entire stated purpose of this shutdown was not achieved. But what did the Republicans manage to do? They managed to drive their ratings down to the lowest point ever. 53% of Americans blame Republicans for the shutdown. 70% of Americans say that Republicans put their own political agenda ahead of what's good for the country when it came to dealing with this shutdown. So they have really hurt the party. By the way, the shutdown, which is estimated to have cost the American economy some $24 billion, and they put us through that pain, through that suffering. They hurt their own reputation for what? For nothing. Did not accomplish one single thing. The only person, the only exception, the one who benefited from this and was not afraid to admit it, is Ted Cruz. Because Ted Cruz became, without doubt, he is... if you thought Marco Rubio or Rand Paul were able to compete with him for who's the leader of the Tea Party right now, he walks away from this, the undisputed head of the Tea Party, and he walks away with a lot more supporters than he had going into it, as he told Sean Hannity last night.
Well, it was unfortunate how this played out. I mean, the last 2 months, and it's worth for everyone watching this to have a word of encouragement. What we've seen over the last 2 months has been incredible. We saw millions of Americans come together. Over 2 million Americans sign a national petition at don'tfundit.com. Light up the phones here at the Capitol.
So Ted Cruz says, hey, I don't care. The Republican Party may have gotten killed in all of this, but I got 2 million more members of my website, 866-55-PRESS. Tell me what you think of this deal and what you think of Mr. Cruz. We'll be right back here on The Bill Press Show.
Like politics? Then like The Bill Press Show on Facebook. This is The Bill Press Show. Streaming live video right now at youtube.com/TawkrTV. That's TAWKR-TV. This is The Bill Press Show.
26 minutes after the hour now, the big question coming out of this resolution, a temporary resolution of the budget crisis is, if Ted Cruz is a big winner, where's the Republican, and the Republican Party is the big loser, or as Chris Salisa said in the Washington Post, we learned that what is good for Ted Cruz is not good for the Republican Party. Not good for the country either, by the way. So where does the party go from here when we come back up to January 15 and February 7? You know that Cruz is going to want to try again to use those government shutdown and default as leverage to try to get rid of Obamacare, which failed so miserably this time. Will the party follow his lead again? For their sake, I hope not.
I know one person that's not going to be following the lead of Ted Cruz is the Houston Chronicle.
Yes.
They had endorsed Ted Cruz. They have taken that endorsement back. One of the lines that really stuck out from their piece yesterday morning says, when we endorsed Ted Cruz in last November's general election, we did so with many reservations and at least one specific recommendation, that he follow Hutchison's example in his conduct as a senator, talking about Kay Bailey Hutchison. Obviously, he has not done so. Cruz has been part of the problem in specific situations where Hutchison would have been part of the solution. So his hometown newspaper that endorsed him has taken back their endorsement and has said he's created more problems than he's helped solve.
Let's go out to Loveland, Colorado. Hello, Jim. Good morning.
Hey, good morning, Bill. I've got a bigger question after having dodged this very large artificial bullet. Now that we're opening back up, what is the Democratic Party going to do to keep this issue that the Republican Party and the Tea Party caucus closed the government and almost ran us onto the rocks again? What are we going to do to keep this in front of people going into the 2014 election? Because I'm betting the Tea Partyists and and I'll bet you John Boehner is hoping the American people forget about this.
Jim, that's an excellent question. I don't know the direct answer, but they've got to do it. They've got to do it. They've got to use this. They've got the video. They got the statements. They've got the facts. And I think they have to start using it now to recruit candidates and get in these races and and make sure that people understand who was willing to totally destroy this American economy in order to get rid of Obamacare. Lay it on them.
Is the Bill Press Show. streaming live video right now at youtube.com/TawkrTV. That's TAWKR-TV. This is The Bill Press Show.
At 33 minutes after the hour, you bet. It is the Bill Press Show. We are coming to you live from our nation's capital, our studio on Capitol Hill, brought to you today by the American Federation of Teachers, good men and women of the AFT under President Randy Weingarten, making a difference every day in the classrooms of America. You bet. Here again on Capitol Hill, where this was pretty exciting yesterday on Capitol Hill. They finally came up with a compromise deal on the budget, as we know. We've been talking about this morning. The Senate voted to approve it overwhelmingly, 81-18. Then the House followed up with a big vote of 285-144. They're watching it all, chasing these people down the hallways, getting her comments and writing her story for Politico. Sung-Min Kim joins us in studio. How late were you up last night?
I was on the Hill probably shortly before midnight. So.
Yeesh.
Whoa.
But that was actually an early night. We were expecting, with all the procedural hurdles that the House usually has to go through, we were expecting to be there much later. So it actually turned out okay.
I was surprised that they were able to move those votes as fast as they could.
Everyone's tired.
It's also really obnoxious that when they really want to get something done,
they can move.
They can boogie. They can move some stuff through.
Right. And I was wondering this morning, how did they get that piece of paper from the Hill down to the White House? Because the president signed it at 12:30 this morning.
They just carted it over, and I believe like 12:26 was the official signing by the president. So
yeah.
I hope that they gave that bill a police escort down to the White House.
No, Doug Gansler drove it down there.
Perfect.
That's an in-joke about the
everything.
Maryland Attorney General who was accused by for those who might have missed that reference, accused by the Maryland State Police of insisting that the red lights and the sirens go on, and if they won't do it, he'll take over and drive the car and do it and do it himself. And you, Sung-Min Kim, are in the Washington Post this morning.
I am.
In Dana Milbank's column, his column is "Ted Cruz, One Sore Loser," quotes you shouting out to Ted Cruz, "Was your fight against Obamacare worth it?" Was it? What did he say, first of all?
First of all, when I asked that question, he said what he had said several times, because this was before that meeting where the deal was announced, the Republican Party.
He was on his way to the...
Indeed, yeah. So he said, I'm headed into this meeting, and basically saying I'm not going to comment until afterwards. But we asked versions of this question afterwards. And we said, look, it's obviously caused a big rift within the Republican Party, and your goal wasn't accomplished. The Obamacare is intact, and the government has opened back up. And he said, look, what was worth it is that the grassroots really... There was a grassroots uprising against Obamacare that he really galvanized, this conservative angst against the health care law. And also for him personally, it's clearly raised his national profile. There are polling numbers that show that. And he had a very good frankly, he had a very good fundraising quarter last quarter, which the numbers just came out yesterday. So it's for him personally, it's been pretty good. You can call him a winner and a loser of the shutdown fight.
Yeah. So, right. On the losing side, it was his strategy to say, who cares? It may have been approved by Congress. It may have been endorsed or ratified by the Supreme Court. And it may have been upheld by the voters of this country in November 2012. But we're still going to be able to kill Obamacare. And the way we're going to do it is by shutting down the government. And that was his strategy. And he sold it to House Republicans.
Sold it very well to House Republicans.
Right.
Yeah.
And they followed it all the way. What, in terms of that particular side of the equation, what goal was achieved? What was achieved by that strategy?
The government shut down. They were willing to risk the government being shut down if they didn't get this Obamacare.
But what did they get for shutting down the government?
They got a lot of really bad poll numbers, and they got a lot of they got a lot of angst just from people, in Washington who are reliant on the federal government just for their everyday economy. I'm sure they heard things back from their constituents. Also, although a lot of conservatives told me that people back home told them this is worth the fight. Like, we know there's
right.
we know
Yeah,
there's a
right.
shutdown, but it's worth it
I heard
to
that
get the
too, right.
message across for
So in terms
Obamacare.
of as a positive achievement, they achieved nothing from that.
Mm-hmm.
On the political side, for the Republican Party, the Republican Party got hammered, right?
Exactly. And I can't tell you how many Republicans have just lamented over, privately and publicly lamented over just how the party has taken a beating in the polls in the last several weeks, leading up to the shutdown. We knew this was going to happen. I mean, there were clearly polls that before the shutdown that says if the Republican Party decides to shut the government down because they're pursuing this Obamacare strategy, who will get the blame? Clearly Republicans. And the thing is
that's the way it worked out.
Exactly. And the thing is the Republicans could have had a very good political messaging win over Obamacare if they had just if the shutdown hadn't happened. All the focus would have been on the fact that Obamacare rolled out October 1st. There were a lot of glitches, a lot of problems. They could have highlighted that and gotten that, had the public's attention on that. Lindsey Graham said so as much yesterday. A lot of other members have been saying the same thing as well. But that's an opportunity lost for them.
And a lot of members of the media have been saying that. I mentioned earlier at the White House, in the White House press corps, that was the buzz yesterday. Everybody was saying, look at these dumb Republicans. And these are reporters who are not showing that they're liberal or conservative, but just looking objectively at the facts. They said, look at these dumb Republicans. We would have, if it weren't for the shutdown, we would have been writing about, and the whole focus would have been on, look what a disaster Obamacare is.
That would have been the headlines. That would have been the ticker on the cable news.
Yeah, I mean, people can't even sign up. They don't even know how to run a website. I mean, It could have. It would have been horrible, right? But people were not writing that story because they were writing about the shutdown. And the other thing that amazes me is that, sometimes. Usually people try to spin their way out of something. The fact that the Republicans got hammered in this thing, I haven't heard anybody try to spin it the other way. It's just the way it is. Every single poll, Gallup, NBC, Wall Street Journal, Washington Post, they all just show that people know who did it and who's to blame.
One of my favorite comments yesterday came courtesy of Senator John McCain, who we asked him, what did the Republican Party gain out of this? And he said, someone would have to explain that to me.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Ted Cruz would try to explain that to him because, as you pointed out, he had a good fundraising goal, raised a lot of money for his PAC. He certainly raised his profile. He has eclipsed, I believe, Rand Paul. Would you agree, Rand Paul and Marco Rubio as the Mr. Tea Party?
As the darling of the Tea Party, definitely.
Right, definitely. And then, as he pointed out last night on Sean Hannity, he has he picked up a lot of grassroots supporters around the country. Here's Senator Cruz.
Well, it was unfortunate how this played out. I mean, the last 2 months, and it's worth for everyone watching this to have a word of encouragement. What we've seen over the last 2 months has been incredible. We saw millions of Americans come together. Over 2 million Americans sign a national petition at don'tfundit.com, light up the phones here at the Capitol.
Over 2 million Americans. So I guess my question to you is, so how many other Republicans accept the fact that, well, we may have lost our shirt, but this wasn't a total loss because Ted Cruz raised a lot of money and got a lot of signatures on his website?
The only other Republican who tried to kind of spin this in a positive light was Mike Lee, who has been his his big ally in the shutdown fight. But even Mike Lee was
Mike
pretty
Lee
cool.
is Ted Cruz's Lindsey Graham.
But the funny thing, too, is he kept a pretty low profile. Yesterday, we were looking, because he had also spearheaded this anti-Obamacare strategy in the Senate, just as much as Ted Cruz. Ted Cruz just got more attention for it. We were looking for him to try to get him to comment and see. I did not see him until 6 p.m. later that night, until he made a floor speech saying, we didn't win this time, but victory doesn't come immediately. We're still going to keep going. All that all that's similar to what Ted Cruz had said to reporters earlier in the day.
So what happened afterwards? Have they gone? Did they go? What do? They come back to work today? I mean, the government's back to work today, but will Congress be in session?
They are not. So the Senate, I believe the Senate is actually out all of next week, and the House is back. They work too much. Come on.
I know, they work so hard. They had to take a whole week off, God, just to catch their breath.
I believe the House is back Tuesday. So they're working on some other, I believe, a water resources bill when they're back.
Well, we did have a member scheduled this morning who notified us late yesterday afternoon or yesterday evening. No, I'm going home. Once this thing is, I expect to vote by midnight. And I'm going home first thing in the morning.
I
so
think after
they just ran out of town, right?
I believe the Senate
people.
finished voting around like 8, and I'm sure some senators were already on their flights home.
Well, the best thing about it is, though, that the towel service will be restored.
Oh, that's
exactly,
right.
In the House gym. Yeah. They won't have to do their own towels
Rest easy,
anymore.
America.
All right. You know what the deal is, and you know who says it was good for him, Ted Cruz, bad for everybody else. I think we learned, Republicans may have learned, what's good for Ted Cruz is not necessarily good for the Republican Party. Sungmin Kim from Politico is here. She's been covering this nonstop for the last couple of weeks. 866-55-PRESS. You have, right?
Yeah.
I know. Sadly.
Such a resignation in her voice. Yeah.
Yeah. Your call's welcome at 866-55-PRESS.
Follow us on Twitter at BP Show. This is The Bill Press Show.
The media keeps asking, was it worth it? My answer is that it's always worth it to do the right thing.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Yeah, that was Senator Mike Lee from Utah yesterday, the sidekick, if you will, of Senator Ted Cruz, and who really helped put together that strategy. I mean, he's like the co-author of the shut down the government strategy in order to defund and derail and
yeah,
kill
he wrote that
Obamacare.
letter that got a lot of, I think like 14 Republicans in the Senate signers saying we want to defund Obamacare and the government funding law.
So, Peter, you had a
Huffington Post this morning, they tweeted out
colorful sidebar here.
This morning's media coverage was enough to make any Republican weep, and they gathered some headlines from around the country. Wall Street Journal, Business voices frustration with the GOP. New York Times, Republicans back down. Washington Post, a glum defeat for House conservatives. Spoiler alert, John Boehner lost. Politico this morning, very positive news for Democrats. Obama wins is one headline. House GOP gets nothing is another. The Weekly Standard has a sad elephant frown on the front page. So yeah, it's across the board pretty bad news for Republicans.
Yeah, you mentioned the New York Times. Republicans back down.
There it is.
Ending the budget crisis. One of the things that people are lamenting, Sungmin Kim, is the lack of leadership on the Republican side. Certainly, it was pretty obvious, John Boehner didn't hide it, that he was following orders, not giving orders.
And he ultimately couldn't pass anything. I mean, they never took their own bill to a vote. They just ended up just taking the Senate's.
Yeah, they did. Couldn't get anything. He tried, put something forward, said, we're not going to take a Senate plan. We're going to do our own thing. They tried. His caucus rejected it. They amended it to
make it more conservative.
Make it more conservative and to satisfy the Tea Parties, and the Tea Parties still rejected that, right?
Well, I
and
think
so
the
they ended up
method-
having to take the Senate bill.
Exactly. And I think especially with the matters of the debt ceiling, I mean, you have, I think, like 232 House Republicans, right? There is a faction of House Republicans, I don't know how big they are, I tried to figure this out a couple weeks ago, but they, campaigned on never raising the debt ceiling, even if you had a bunch of spending cuts, even if you put a bunch of conservative goodies in. So there was always going to be enough people to derail any effort to raise the debt ceiling unless he got some Democratic votes.
All right, so the big question is, John Boehner did what he could have done 3 weeks ago, but refused, which was he finally allowed the full House to vote. And as everybody said, every Democrat voted for it, even though these are the sequester level funding.
And they were not happy about that.
They were not happy about that, but every Democrat, even Keith Ellison, Barbara Lee, who told us
Grijalva, yeah.
Barbara Lee sat right where you were yesterday and said, I don't like this, but I'm going to vote for it. She did. But John Boehner told Republicans and said, okay, now look, we tried everything. Everything failed. We lost. So now he said, there's no reason to vote no, wanting everybody to vote yes. And 144 Republicans still voted no. So with that, does he keep his speakership?
He does. I think we talked to a lot of House conservatives about this yesterday when we saw the writing on the wall and knew that the House was going to take up the Senate bill. Conservatives had nothing, publicly at least, the conservatives had nothing but praise for the speaker. They said, he did everything he could. I mean, it's Speaker Boehner doesn't control the fact that there is a Democratic-led Senate and Obama in the White House, and he listened to us. He governed, by talking to his rank and file members and not the other way around. So in terms of public statements, they had a lot of praise for the speaker. There's no right now. I can't see a challenge to his speakership because who would it be? I mean, I think Eric Cantor would be in the same boat because he's leading this strategy as well. So. For now, it's safe.
All right. So, in the sloppiest way, and at the very last minute, Republicans and Democrats did manage to come together in the House and in the Senate. Does that mean it's going to be easier the next time?
That is the $1 million question, isn't it? I don't know. I think that I would guess, especially Republicans who had said from the outset that this was McCain called it several times a fool's errand. I would hope that, or I think they would hope that might have learned a lesson. You're not going to get this is not basically not going to happen in these must-pass bills. I mean, if you want to change Obamacare, you have to win elections, you have to win the White House, you have to win the Senate. Ted Cruz, the question I wanted answered yesterday, which I did not get an answer to, was he kept alluding that, there are future opportunities to do this. So I said, what does that mean? Can you elaborate? And he just repeated that answer. So I don't know if that means, is he going to try this effort again in the next government funding resolution, the next debt ceiling fight? Who knows? I don't know.
And then the next question is, if he does, and if he proposes it, will he again get people to follow him like the Pied Piper, right? I mean, will Senate Republicans just stand up and say, no, Ted, no, Ted. Hey, Ted, we tried this once, and look what happened, right? We're just not going to do it again.
Well, there were enough Senate Republicans to kind of quiet Ted Cruz's strategy. I mean, there were 25 of the Senate Republicans who rejected that key procedural vote in early September. It was the House really where they, continue that strategy. So it's really the House Republicans.
Will the House Republicans follow it? Well, we might have another.
We'll see.
Another meeting at Tortilla Coast. Huh?
Oh God.
Oh God.
Or as Harry Reid calls it, Tortilla Factory.
Yeah, Tortilla Factory. Is that Tortilla Factory?
He actually called it Tortilla Factory last night.
It's funny.
But maybe he was tired.
I've said here, it is the worst restaurant in Washington, D.C. The worst restaurant in Washington, D.C.
So if you need a margarita, it'll do.
So, of course, Ted Cruz likes it.
Yeah, right.
Sungmin, thank you so much for your good work and for coming in this morning.
Sure,
Appreciate
it's
it.
great to be here.
And I'll wrap it up with a parting shot.
This is the Bill Press Show. The Parting Shot with Bill Press. This is the Bill Press Show.
And just a quick parting shot and parting word on this deal, which, let's face it, is just a temporary fix. We only got 3 months before we're going to be fighting the same battles all over again, which means that we just roll from one fiscal crisis to the next one. And because we're going to be preoccupied with all those budget battles, Congress is going to be able to tackle nothing else. No immigration reform, no climate change legislation, no farm bill, and no new gun safety measures. But, Republicans will use the same threat of shutting down the government again and not paying our bills to bring Congress to a standstill. So a temporary fix at best. We got a deal, all right, but if you ask me, it's still a bad deal. Have a great day, folks. Come back and see us again tomorrow morning.
This is the Bill Press Show.